Society taught men that sexual power comes from a hard erection, but the most sexually satisfied women over 60 will tell you something completely different. It's not about hardness, it's about knowing exactly where to go, how to touch, and what her body is actually craving. And today, I'm teaching you all of it. Stay with me through this entire video, because what I'm about to break down goes against almost everything you were ever taught about sex. And by the time we're done, you'll have a completely new understanding of what it actually means to satisfy a woman deeply at any age, with or without a full erection. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, this is the place where we talk about men's sexual health with zero judgment, zero embarrassment, and zero sugarcoating. Just real information that actually makes a difference in your life and in your relationship. Now, I want to start today with a question, and I want you to really think about this honestly. When was the last time you felt completely confident during intimacy? Not just physically, but mentally. The kind of confidence where you're fully present, fully connected, and fully focused on her. For a lot of men over 60, that confidence has taken a hit. And almost always, it's tied to one thing: erection reliability. Maybe you've had moments where you went soft midway. Maybe getting fully hard takes longer than it used to. Maybe there are nights when it just doesn't happen the way you want it to. And when that happens, a lot of men do one of two things. They either avoid intimacy altogether to escape the embarrassment, or they go through the motions, feeling ashamed and disconnected the entire time. But here's what nobody knew. Those responses are based on a completely outdated and inaccurate belief about what pleasure actually means to a woman. Today we're dismantling that belief completely. We're going to talk about what her body is actually responding to, where her deepest pleasure points are, how to reach them with precision and intention, and how a man who truly understands this becomes the most memorable partner she's ever had regardless of erection strength. The lie men were told about sex. Let's start at the root of the problem, and the root is this. From the time men are young, they receive one single message about sex: perform, get hard, go hard, last long, finish strong. That's the entire script that most men carry into their relationships, their marriages, and their later years. And the problem with that script isn't just that it's incomplete. The problem is that it's actually backwards when it comes to what creates deep, lasting pleasure for a woman. Here's what research on female sexuality consistently shows. Women's most satisfying sexual experiences are not primarily driven by penetration or by the hardness of an erection. They are driven by emotional safety, intentional touch, sustained stimulation of specific areas, and feeling deeply desired. Let that sink in. The very thing men spend years worrying about, the erection, is not the primary driver of female pleasure. It is one tool among many. And when other tools are used skillfully, the erection becomes far less central to the experience than most men believe. In fact, studies on female orgasm have consistently found that the majority of women, somewhere between 70 and 80%, do not reach orgasm through penetration alone. That means for most women, what you do before, around, and alongside penetration matters far more than penetration itself. Now, pair that with what happens physiologically for women over 60. After menopause, estrogen levels drop significantly. This leads to changes in vaginal tissue. It becomes thinner, less elastic, and can be more sensitive to friction. For many women, aggressive or purely penetration-focused sex becomes physically uncomfortable, sometimes even painful. What does that mean for you? It means that a man who knows how to stimulate her deeply without relying entirely on a rigid erection isn't just working around a limitation. She's actually giving her a better experience than she'd get from a younger man who doesn't know what he's doing. This is the reframe. This is where your experience, your patience, and your emotional intelligence become your greatest sexual assets. Understanding her pleasure architecture. Now, let's get into the actual anatomy of female pleasure, because this is where most men have massive blind spots. And I don't mean that critically, it's just that this information simply isn't taught. Not in school, not in mainstream media, and certainly not in the conversations most men have with each other. The clitoris, the most underutilized pleasure organ in human sexuality. Most men think of the clitoris as a small button at the top of the vaginal opening. And while that external part, called the glans, is extraordinarily sensitive, it is just the visible tip of a much larger internal structure. The full clitoral structure is shaped like a wishbone and extends several inches internally on both sides of the vaginal canal. It has two internal legs called crura and two internal bulbs that swell with arousal, very much like an erection. When fully aroused, this entire internal structure becomes engorged and highly sensitive to pressure. This is critical information because it means that stimulating the clitoris isn't just about touching that small external point. It's about applying pressure and stimulation to the entire surrounding area, including the upper wall of the vaginal canal where those internal bulbs sit. And here's the key insight. You do not need a fully rigid erection to stimulate the clitoris effectively. In fact, manual stimulation, oral stimulation, and even gentle grinding pressure can stimulate this entire structure more effectively and consistently than penetration alone. This is where you have enormous power, regardless of erection strength. The G-spot, real, reachable, and deeply responsive. The G-spot, located on the anterior or front wall of the vagina, approximately 2 to 3 inches inside, is a region of tissue that is part of the internal clitoral network. When a woman is aroused, this area swells slightly and becomes distinctly textured, often described as having a slightly ridged or spongy feel compared to the smoother surrounding tissue. For many women, especially postmenopausal women, G-spot stimulation is most effective when she is already significantly aroused. Attempting to stimulate this area before sufficient arousal often produces little response or discomfort. Patience and extended foreplay are not optional extras here. They are the actual technique. Now here is why this matters for men with soft erections. The G-spot is reachable with fingers and stimulation with 1 or 2 fingers using a gentle come here, curling motion toward the belly button is often described by women as producing some of the most intense pleasure they experience. This requires zero erection, zero. What it requires is knowledge, patience, and paying close attention to her responses. When you combine clitoral stimulation externally with G-spot stimulation internally, what is sometimes called blended stimulation, you create overlapping waves of sensation that can be far more powerful than anything produced through penetration alone. Master this, and you will literally be giving her an experience most men cannot. Erogenous zones beyond the obvious. Women's bodies are covered in nerve-rich areas that, when stimulated with intention, build deep arousal and emotional connection. The neck and the area just below the ears, the inner wrists, the small of the back, the inner thighs, especially the upper inner thighs, which are extraordinarily close to the major nerve clusters of the genital area, the back of the knees, the scalp. Taking the time to explore and stimulate these areas before moving to genital touch doesn't just feel good. It dramatically increases the blood flow and neurological sensitivity throughout her entire body, making every subsequent touch more powerful. A woman who is fully aroused through extended whole-body stimulation is capable of pleasure that a woman who is barely touched before penetration simply cannot access. This is the secret most men miss. Techniques that work with a soft or semi-soft erection. Now let's get practical. Let's talk specifically about how you can reach her deepest pleasure points with skill and confidence, even when your erection isn't fully firm. Technique 1, the slow build, arousal first always. The single biggest mistake men make in the bedroom at any age is rushing, moving too quickly from kissing to touching to penetration without giving her body the time it needs to fully awaken. For women over 60, this is even more important. The hormonal changes of menopause mean arousal takes longer and requires more sustained stimulation to fully develop. The slow build means you are committing to spending real time, not 2 minutes, but 15, 20, even 30 minutes on everything that comes before intercourse. Kissing, skin-to-skin contact, whispering, touching the non-obvious erogenous zones we just covered, building anticipation deliberately and patiently. A woman who has been slowly, intentionally brought to a high state of arousal is a woman whose body is already halfway to orgasm before you've even touched her genitally. This is technique, this is skill, this is what separates an unforgettable lover from a forgettable one. Technique 2, masterful manual stimulation. Your hands are extraordinary instruments, and yet most men use them in a clumsy, rushed, repetitive way that doesn't reflect how sensitive and complex a woman's genital response actually is. Here is what masterful manual stimulation looks like. Start with very light touch around the outer labia, not directly on the clitoris, build slowly. Pay attention to how her breathing changes. As her arousal builds, her body will give you clear signals: deeper breathing, subtle movements towards your hand, changes in muscle tension. These are your feedback. Use them. When you move toward the clitoris, use indirect stimulation first, touching around it, applying gentle pressure to the hood above it, moving in slow circles rather than direct repeated contact. Direct clitoral contact is often too intense too early, especially for postmenopausal women whose nerve sensitivity can be heightened. Start gentle. You can always increase intensity. You cannot undo overstimulation. When she's sufficiently aroused, introduce internal stimulation with 1 or 2 fingers using that gentle curling motion toward the front wall. Maintain external stimulation simultaneously if possible. Rhythm and consistency matter enormously here. When you find a motion, a pressure, a rhythm that clearly produces a strong response, do not change it. This is one of the most common mistakes. Men find something that's working and then change it thinking they're being creative. When something is working, stay with it until she tells you otherwise. Consistency is what builds her toward climax. Technique 3, oral stimulation, the most powerful tool you have. If you are serious about giving a woman deep, consistent pleasure, regardless of your erection status, oral stimulation is the single most powerful technique available to you. A man who is skilled at oral stimulation is a man who never has to worry about whether he can satisfy his partner. This is simply the truth. The principles of great oral stimulation mirror everything we've discussed. Start slow, build gradually, begin with broad, gentle strokes of the tongue before narrowing to more focused stimulation. Use your hands simultaneously, either internally or holding her hips gently to feel her responses. Pay attention to her breathing and movements. They are telling you exactly what to do. For women over 60, communication before and during is everything. Some areas may be more sensitive than before, some positions may be more comfortable than others. Checking in, not with clinical questions, but with quiet, intimate whispers, shows care and attentiveness that deepens both the physical and emotional experience. A simple, "Does this feel good?" or "Tell me what you want," opens the door to a level of intimacy that no erection strength can replicate. Technique 4, positions that work with softness. Even if penetration is desired, certain positions are far more accessible and pleasurable when erection firmness is variable. The spooning position, lying behind her, entering from behind, requires less rigidity and allows for deeper emotional connection through skin contact, kissing the neck, and manual stimulation of the clitoris simultaneously. Woman on top positions give her control over angle and depth, which is both practical for penetration with a soft erection and deeply pleasurable for her, since she can position herself to optimize clitoral pressure and G-spot stimulation simultaneously. The coital alignment technique, a modified missionary where you shift your body slightly higher than usual so that the base of your penis maintains contact with her clitoris throughout, can produce extraordinary blended stimulation even with reduced firmness. These are not compromised positions. These are highly effective techniques that many couples report as producing more pleasure than conventional positions. Now, right here, I want to pause for a moment and talk to you directly. What I've shared with you today are pieces of a much larger picture, and the truth is, the techniques and the understanding you need to fully reclaim your sexual confidence, satisfy your partner deeply, and completely transform your intimate life after 60, they don't all fit into a single YouTube video. That's exactly why I put together something far more comprehensive. I created a full video walking you through a complete program, one that pieces the entire puzzle of men's sexual health together, from fixing erection and performance issues at the root to the specific techniques that make you the most skilled, most confident, most satisfying partner she's ever been with after 60, to how you get her desire back in alignment with yours so you're both craving the same thing at the same time. Everything pieced together like someone guiding you by the hand from beginning to end. No gaps, no guessing, just a clear, complete path from where you are right now to where you want to be. The link to that video is pinned in the comment section, and it's also in the video description below. I genuinely want you to go watch it after this because the techniques I'm teaching you today are powerful on their own, but within the full context of that program, they become part of a transformation that goes far deeper than any single technique. The emotional layer, why this matters more than. We've talked a lot about the physical, but I'd be doing you a serious disservice if I didn't address what is, for most women over 60, the single most important dimension of sexual satisfaction, the emotional. For women, sexual pleasure and emotional connection are not separate things. They are deeply interwoven. A woman who feels emotionally safe, desired, seen, and appreciated is a woman whose body is neurologically primed for pleasure in a way that no physical technique can manufacture on its own. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, is released through physical closeness, eye contact, gentle touch, and words of genuine appreciation. When oxytocin is flowing, a woman's body relaxes. Her vaginal tissue becomes more supple and responsive. Her nervous system shifts out of stress mode into an open, receptive state that amplifies every physical sensation she experiences. What this means practically is that how you treat her outside the bedroom directly impacts what happens inside it. Are you showing her affection throughout the day, not just when you want sex? Are you making her feel genuinely wanted and not just physically? Are you communicating openly about what you both enjoy and what you both need? These are not soft, optional, secondary considerations. They're the foundation on which everything else is built. A man who understands this, who invests in the emotional intimacy of his relationship consistently, will always find a partner who is more responsive, more open, and more pleasured than a man who shows up only in the bedroom. And here's the beautiful thing about this for men over 60. You have something most young men don't. You have decades of experience with your partner. You know her. You understand snorts, her rhythms, her preferences, her vulnerabilities, and her strengths. That knowledge applied with intention and care is one of the most powerful aphrodisiacs that exists. Confidence, the real foundation of sexual power. Let's talk about confidence because no technique, no matter how skillfully executed, lands the same way when it comes from a man who is in his head, anxious, and apologetic about his performance. Sexual confidence in a man is one of the most powerful things a woman can experience. And I want to be clear about what sexual confidence actually is because most men misunderstand it. Sexual confidence is not arrogance. It is not pretending everything is fine when it isn't. It is not performing certainty you don't feel. Sexual confidence is a deep-rooted belief that you have value to offer as a lover, regardless of what your erection is or isn't doing at any given moment. It is the grounded assurance that your touch matters, your presence matters, your desire for her matters, and your commitment to her pleasure matters. When a man approaches intimacy from that place, focused on her, present in his body, genuinely engaged in creating pleasure for her rather than performing for his own evaluation, something remarkable happens. The anxiety lifts, the erection often improves, and the quality of the entire experience transforms for both of you. Performance anxiety is one of the leading causes of erectile difficulty in men over 60. The fear of going soft creates the very response it fears. It's a vicious cycle that starts in the mind and expresses itself in the body. Breaking that cycle begins with a mental reframe, shifting your entire focus away from, will I stay hard enough? And toward, am I fully present with her and committed to her pleasure? That shift changes everything. It removes you from the position of spectator, watching and judging your own performance, and places you back where you belong, fully in the experience, fully with her, fully alive in the moment. That man, present, confident, skilled, and fully focused on her, is irresistible at any age with any level of erection strength. Communication, the underrated game changer. I want to spend a few minutes on communication because this is the area where even couples who have been together for decades often have the most room for growth. Most long-term couples stop talking about sex. They fall into patterns, assume they know what the other person wants, and never update that understanding as both their bodies and their desires evolve. But here's the truth. A woman's body and her sexual preferences change significantly over time. What she loved at 40 may not be what feels best at 62. What felt great before menopause may need to be adjusted to feel great after. And unless you're talking, unless there is an open, honest, judgment-free conversation happening between you, You're essentially navigating in the dark. The goal is to create a relationship where talking about what you both want, what feels good, what you'd like to try, and what isn't working anymore is as comfortable as talking about anything else. That doesn't happen overnight, but it starts with one honest conversation led by one person who is willing to be vulnerable first. That person should be you. Not because it's your responsibility alone, but because choosing to go first, choosing to say, I want to make sure I'm giving you what you need. Can we talk about that? Is an act of courage and love that most women find profoundly attractive. It also gives her permission to be honest with you. And when she is, you gain access to information that no technique, no program, and no video can give you. The specific, real-time truth about what this particular woman, your partner, actually wants and needs from you. Putting it all together. Your new approach to, so, let me bring everything we've covered together into a clear picture of what a transformed, intimate life actually looks like. For a man over 60 who has internalized everything in this video, it starts outside the bedroom. He's invested in the emotional connection of the relationship. He's showing affection, appreciation, and presence in the everyday moments that build the foundation of desire. When intimacy begins, he brings patience. He is not rushed. He understands that her arousal takes time, and he gives it that time generously and enthusiastically. He's exploring her entire body, not just the obvious places. He's reading her responses, her breathing, her movements, her sounds, and using that feedback in real time. His hands are skilled and intentional. He knows the clitoral structure. He knows how to find and stimulate the G-spot. He knows the erogenous zones that build arousal throughout the body. He uses these with confidence and care. When or if penetration happens, he's not in his head about his erection. He's present. He's using positions that maximize her pleasure and his consistency. He's continuing to touch, caress, and connect even during penetration, not treating it as the endpoint, but as one dimension of a rich, full experience. And through all of it, he's communicating. He's present. He's not performing for a scorecard. He's genuinely there with her, for her, loving her. That man doesn't need a perfect erection to be the best she's ever had. That man is extraordinary, and that man is exactly who you are becoming by being here and doing this work. Now, before I let you go, I want to come back to something I mentioned earlier, because I genuinely don't want you to walk away from this video with great information and no clear next step. Everything I've shared today, the anatomy, the techniques, the emotional layer, the confidence work, these are pieces, powerful pieces, but they work best as part of a complete system. And that's exactly what I built. I made a full video covering a complete program designed specifically for men like you. It goes deeper into fixing erection and performance issues from the root. It covers the full suite of techniques that make you genuinely exceptional in bed after 60. And crucially, it addresses how you align her desire with yours, because the best techniques in the world don't matter if you're both not in the same place emotionally and physically. It's a hand-holding step-by-step journey beginning to end. No gaps, no confusion, just a clear path to a completely transformed intimate life. That video is linked right now, pinned in the comments below, and also in the video description. Go watch it as your next step. It's worth every minute because you didn't end up on this channel by accident. You're here because you still care, because the desire is still there, because you want to show up fully for yourself and for the person you love. That matters. That deserves the best information, the best guidance, and the complete picture, not just pieces of it. That's everything for today's video. We covered a lot of ground, from dismantling the myths you were taught about sexual power to the real anatomy of her pleasure, to the specific techniques that work regardless of erection strength, to the emotional and communication foundations that make everything else possible. If this video gave you something valuable, a new perspective, a practical technique, a renewed sense of confidence, do me a favor and hit the like button. It helps this content reach the men who need it most. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. This channel is dedicated to giving you the honest, complete, practical information on men's sexual health that you won't find anywhere else. New videos drop regularly. Drop a comment below and let me know what was the single most valuable thing you took from this video today. I read every comment, and your input shapes what I create next. And don't forget the link to the full program video is pinned in the comments and in the description. Your next step is one click away. I'll see you there, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care of yourself.